Upstairs at Froelich, show 320, reel 1.
I haven't watched shit recently. I watched Spiral. That's the last. I watched.
I remember. We watched Mank, the Netflix movie.
What'd you think?
Couldn't really. I mean, I lost interest about a half an hour into it, and I went into the kitchen while the movie was still playing, and my wife and daughter were watching it, and I continued to set up this exercise bike that I bought. So that'll tell you. And then I came back in for like the last 20 minutes. I mean, Gary Oldman is a brilliant actor. He's wonderful, whatever. It's great, but it really didn't hold my interest because it just seemed to be about his drinking and kind of behaving like an idiot, you know, when he gets drunk.
That's kind of, I didn't want to see it for those reasons. It just seemed like Fincher was just going to go off the rails with it.
It has nothing to do with Citizen Kane. I mean, there's like 5 minutes of him talking to Orson Welles, and then that's it. I mean, like, it's just basically, you know, I mean, it's just a guy who drinks a lot. He drinks a lot and whatever. I mean, but Gary Oldman was great. He's fine. He's a great actor. He was even good in the Robocop movie. I can't believe he was in the fucking thing, but he was in.
Hey, man, it was the right amount of money was all it took. Maybe he, like Michael Caine, he did Jaws for the money. Why didn't maybe Gary Oldman did it to put an addition on his house or something?
We'll get to Robocop 2014 eventually at the end of this discussion, I guess. But the one thing I do want to say is everybody that was in it was pretty much, it was a paycheck for them. And that was it.
Maybe not so much Joel Kinnaman.
Joel Kinnaman should thank his lucky stars. That's pretty much his payment right there.
He should at least be happy he's still working.
Okay, so, well, tonight it's Robocop. We're doing another franchise. Maybe not as popular, enduring, or as profitable as the Alien movies were, but...
No, because this one's an easy franchise to talk about, because you got one excellent, kick-ass, great movie,
and then the rest are sequels.
You got a good sequel, but then like the third one's all over the place.
Batshit. It was absolute batshit crazy. That second movie was absolutely fucking nuts. But I mean, the first movie, okay, these movies are not as complicated as the Alien movies, so we're not going to have like a complex philosophical or spiritual conversation about Robocop the way we did with Alien and the Alien franchise, because it's basically the whole idea is just one premise. Detroit has gone to shit, which is pretty much Detroit at any given time. A good cop, is brutalized and tortured and left for dead, like practically on his first day being transferred into this place, you know?
Yeah, but one could also argue that it's his own damn fault.
What? Because he cared too much? Are you really going to bust his balls for caring too much?
Aren't you supposed to fucking wait for backup?
He should have waited for backup, but no, he's a what do you call it? He's a wildcat.
A one-man army.
He's a one-man. I don't even know that he's a one-man army.
Ironically enough, he becomes that. He actually becomes a one-man army.
I mean, he gets transferred to this place, and he goes out with his partner, Nancy Allen. Always good to see. And he gets killed on his first day, and I mean, he almost gets killed. He basically just gets torn apart. I mean, the scene is very violent. It's a very violent scene with Kurtwood Smith and who's the other guy? Paul McCrane and Ray Wise. Great character actors playing the bad guys here, right?
Yep.
And they practically torture this guy to death. And so I guess something happens. Maybe this is worth a little bit of a conversation. At what point does Alex Murphy stop being an autonomous, sentient individual and become property of Omnicorp? You know?
Well, he became property the second he died, because the one, Johnson even says he signed a release. He's legally dead. We can do it with him whatever we want.
So, I mean, like if you apply for a job as a cop, you sign a release, and the minute you're dead, they can do anything.
Well, because it's okay. There's the South Park joke, you know, about the human centipad. Okay, about how you click on every little thing, not knowing what you're doing. You know, so you could see that. Okay, OCP just bought the Detroit Police Department, right? Yeah. Every new officer that came on the police department had to sign this contract. How many of these cops do you think read the fine fucking print?
Well, yeah, I guess.
I mean, we got to put it. I just
can't believe that would be in the fine print. I can't believe it would be. Did they foresee a circumstance that would involve them being able to take human body parts and incorporate them into some kind of robotic structure. I mean, I can't believe they actually saw that coming down the road.
Yeah, I mean, but then the one way you could look at it is you see Murphy's first day, but then you see the whole board meeting, and then they talk about Bob Morton and his whole, Robocop pitch and everything like that.
Yeah.
You see, they never tell you in the movie if both of those events are going on at the exact same time.
That's true.
You see, maybe you're
running
just getting
concurrently with that scene. Yeah.
Yeah, nothing. Either one of those events could not be running concurrently. So maybe Bob Morton got the Robocop program off the ground. They integrated it into the new officers' contracts, the ones that signed up, and there you go. That was in his contract.
But this is
that
Paul,
when you die,
Paul
you're
Verhoeven
OCP
at his
property.
best making this film, because it even says in his Wikipedia description that his movies are known for their graphic violence, sexual content, and social satire. So I think what he was trying to do was trying to make a fast and loose, fun science fiction movie that was really violent, but also had a lot of satire in it, like, as we talked about, Total Recall and Starship Troopers. These are all part of some kind of a strange idea where, I mean, like, when you watch they actually, Frank Miller kind of pushes it to too much of an extreme, I think, in Robocop 2.
What?
But you see this kind of satirical thing that involves propaganda with the media, right?
Right. Now, I have a thing with that. I honestly think that's on the screenwriters more than the director. Okay, because if you actually look at Total Recall and to another extent Basic Instinct in its own sense is exploitive, but it's not really satire. Well, Basic Instinct is not satire, and neither, for that matter,
That's a different beast, because that I still feel like he's making fun of something, whatever it might be,
Well, I honestly think it's just like a good exploitation thriller because of all like the sex scenes and everything like that, and then you've got the close-up murder shots, like especially when Johnny Boz gets killed at the beginning. That's graphic as fucking shit right there. And that's the same effects house who did Robocop, Rob Bottin. He did that effect.
Well, yeah, but I the way I see it is Verhoeven, I think it's the same idea. The idea is do it big, overblown, over the top. And Robocop is
Total Recall was that, but the thing was, I didn't catch any satire in that. I thought that movie it's pretty straightforward.
The satire is basically that I guess the world is so shitty, you can just retreat into your mind for a vacation. That's sort of how I say it. It's Philip K. Dick. Philip K. Dick wrote the original story. And his idea was in a sense, they can screw with your memories. But the thing is, there's the twist of Total Recall, which is they can, if as much as they can send you on a vacation in your head and give you memories, they can also screw with your head and give you fake memories. That kind of thing. Right. Which is the paranoia of Philip K. Dick.
And then another movie I think really touched on, I don't want to get too far off, The Sixth Day with Arnold Schwarzenegger, because now this is what's funny. Cloning is legal for pets, but illegal for humans, but yet you can clone humans. It's just an underground thing. Mm-hmm. So you look at Total Recall, you're not supposed to, we can implant these memories in your head, these safe ones, but we're not supposed to change who you are. They keep, you're not supposed to change who you are, change your identity. That's the other side of the coin.
But I don't know whether any of this is strictly based on a script or just the fact that Verhoeven likes to screw around with these ideas, because it's not a coincidence that he directed all of these movies. They all have this sort of touch of something about them. Even Hollow Man, I remember Hollow Man. That's an Invisible Man story that's actually pretty damn good, actually, when you think about it.
It is. It's really good, and it's a very visceral, rough fucking movie.
But again, it's something that you take seriously. You take seriously, style. Yeah, because you think that there are bigger ideas at play here than just the movie we're looking at. But Robocop is kind of a silly premise. You take a man who's half dead and you build a robot suit around him, and then you think, in vain that you're going to be able to control this thing, even as his memories begin to resurface, and they keep showing up in every movie, in both sequels, and also in the remake of 2014. No matter what you do, you can't really control it. And then there are people that just don't want to mess with his memories, like Jill Hennessy in Robocop 3.
Yeah, and then Robocop 2, what is it? He fried his we're getting too far ahead, but then he fried his new directives.
Yeah, don't take meetings with Orion Pictures. That was one of the directives in his head. That was put there. That's like an Easter egg that the visual effects people put in.
Wow. Was that was on part 2? Don't take meeting with Orion Pictures?
Don't take meetings with Orion executives. It shows up as one of his directives.
Oh man,
it goes by so quickly. But the nerd contingent out there managed to freeze frame it and put it in a picture. Maybe I'll throw it in here.
that is so cool.
Well, yeah. RoboCop 2 had it really did. It seriously have problems. But the first movie isn't really. I mean, like, it's not like RoboCop is like to the standard that Ridley Scott's Alien was. You know,
No.
It wasn't a piece of perfection, but apparently it was just such an enormous hit because it was like a Dirty Harry type thing, and this was sort of, I guess maybe the movie was a response to that kind of me generation Reagan. Yuppie thing, because you notice all the yuppies in this movie are bad guys. You know, Miguel Ferrer and all that. And they're all working for Dan
he's
O'Hurley.
Not so much a bad. He's not so much a bad.
And Ronny
guy,
Cox, of course.
Ronny Cox. I mean, what's funny enough is he never really played a bad guy before until he did this, and then he got good bad guy roles after this.
He was like the first thing that Ronny Cox was ever in, I think, was Deliverance, which was the movie with Burt Reynolds and John Voight and Ed Beatty. And then after that, he did appear in a lot of like smaller movies, but this is like the first time I think Verhoeven was like, you will be my bad guy in science fiction movies, And
he played it to a T.
That's
and
because
to a better extent, the old man too, because
the old man. A prick. Dan O'Hurley, he was the bad guy in Halloween 3.
And he does, and in this role, he's just like a snake oil salesman. It's like,
you know what he is. He kind of reminds me of he's an Irish Boris Karloff. That's kind of what he reminds me of.
Just that voice, and then of course we can't talk about Dan O'Hurley without talking about Gavin O'Hurley.
Gavin, who
Gavin O'Hurley, Death Wish 3, dude, come on.
Yeah, I know Death Wish 3, but he was also Brad in Superman 3.
Oh God, yes, you did the Superman 3 connection.
And he was in one other movie. There was another movie that he was in.
Oh, fucking! I just had it. Son of a bitch. Willow. He was in Willow.
Well, no. I wasn't thinking of Willow. I was thinking of one more 80s movie. Oh, well, he was in Never Say Never Again, which was directed by Irvin Kershner. That was the unofficial Bond movie. But no, there was another movie that he was in. He was also Chuck, Richie's brother, in the first episode of Happy Days, who disappears after that.
He just went up the stairs, never to be seen again.
I feel bad because I broke your damn brain because I didn't want to talk about Gavin O'Hurley, but I had to.
Space Raiders. No, this is only selected. I can't really see anything else. Oh, it was all over TV. Oh, fuck me. He was also in the pilot episode of Star Trek Voyager, but I don't remember seeing him there. Anyway. Oh, yeah, Tales from the Crypt. He was on a Tales from the Crypt episode. Anyway, that was Dan O'Hurley's son, Gavin, who is a ginger, and I don't even think he's a daywalker. I think he's a little too ginger to be a daywalker.
A little bit. But a good asshole bad guy in his own right.
Oh, but Dan O'Hurley, he was also on Twin Peaks. I remember that too. He appeared in the second season, again playing a kind of ominous, frightening kind of character. So RoboCop, he goes out, he defends the weak and all that stuff, but he also, his poor partner Nancy Allen is trying to deal with him, and she really doesn't know what to do. And the thing is, she's not written up enough, She's just sort of there to bounce ideas off of. She doesn't really do much other than that.
Yeah,
she does get to be a hero, though.
Yeah, right at the end. And I agree with you. She doesn't really get to do anything until the end. It's like she's there when Murphy gets killed, and then she's just
she's there to help him out.
And then she only comes back when he's like literally getting killed by the rest of fucking OC or Detroit Police Department OCP. But she's like the only person that knows it's Murphy.
Right.
And but basically, I guess what she does do at the end is help him regain a little bit of his humanity.
A little bit. But the thing about RoboCop is fantastic. I remember I talked about it with my friend Andrew for Extreme Cinema because we were looking at a couple of Paul Verhoeven movies. RoboCop was one. I think Total Recall was the second one. The third one was one that he did recently with I forget who it was. Isabella.
L.
Sorry.
Isabella Huppert. L.
L. Right.
L. The name of the movie. L.
It's about a woman that gets.
And I heard
raped.
I heard that was a really good movie.
It is really good, but it's also
she got nominated for an Oscar for that.
Yeah, she got nominated, and it was just kind of a disturbing movie. It's a movie I never want to watch again because it was very well made. It was just really hard to watch. It was just really hard to watch because of the content.
That's what I'm told. Another movie she did that I really want to watch, Greta. If you've never heard of that movie,
Greta. Was it Isabella?
Yeah, it's Isabelle Huppert.
Or Isabelle Huppert?
No, Isabelle Huppert.
Right. Okay.
Isabelle Huppert and Chloe Grace Moretz.
I like Chloe Grace, actually. There's one more thing I wanted to mention. There's a scene that always makes my daughter cringe. And it's the scene
which one?
Where Paul McCrane gets run over by the truck with toxic waste in it. And he's walking around and he starts howling and he grabs Ray Weiss, and Ray Weiss says, "Get the fuck off me!" He's like,
"Get off me, man!"
He's like, "Help me." That to me, okay. See, the thing about that, this is why the 2014 version of RoboCop isn't fun, because it doesn't take chances to have fun. That felt like, I mean, that was Rob Bottin, obviously, right?
Yes, that was Rob Bottin.
But the thing about it is, it's like icing on the cake. We didn't really need that scene, but the movie is so much better for having it. I feel like this movie and RoboCop 2 and RoboCop 3 really try to have fun. They really do try to entertain, and they have a sense of humor about them. I didn't feel like the 2014 movie had that much of a sense of humor about it, you know?
No, it was all action, all satire, and no story. Like there was nothing new that was injected into it. Okay, I'm getting too ahead of myself.
Yeah.
They tried injecting new shit into it. They tried, but at the end of the day, nobody cared because RoboCop is it's one of those things that it's just too sacred of a property to where it's like, hey, we'll try it once, and it didn't do well, and they were at least smart not to pursue sequels.
What's kind of interesting here is that the first RoboCop movie wasn't really all that profitable. I mean, it did make some money, but it wasn't like an enormous hit.
I thought it didn't make like $50 or $60 million.
It made $53 million on a $13 million budget. Didn't seem like it was that much money. Maybe it was because it was Orion that released it, so they didn't put it in that many theaters.
And that was in '87. So I guess at those times you were still doing regional rollouts instead of national. Maybe it was regionally released. I don't know.
What were the biggest movies of '87 that I can think?
Predator came out in '87. The Last Emperor. Empire of the Sun. 87 was not like a banner year. Oh, Lethal Weapon came out in 87. That was like one of the big releases. Beverly Hills Cop 2 came out in 87, I believe. Right. But 87 was just a weird year. 87 was one of those, like, even like the best picture movies that year weren't all that great. You know, I haven't even seen The Last Emperor. I don't care to. I really don't.
The thing about, like Lethal Weapon is the closest comparison, and then I'll check Predator in a second, but that's a $15 million budget, and the movie made $120 million. So that was an enormous hit compared to RoboCop, at least that way.
But then you got Joel Silver and Warner Brothers money to fuck with.
That's true. And then we have Predator, which is a completely different
studio. Is Joel Silver again. And Fox money to fuck.
Fox money, and that's a $15 to $18 million budget, and the movie made a little less than 100. So I have a feeling it might have been Orion. It might have been just the fault or oversight of Orion. They really, at that time, they didn't really know how to roll out these big movies. I'd say they started to really understand how to roll them out at the time that they started to fail publicly, which was the Dances with Wolves, Silence of the Lamb time period, you know?
Yeah, Orion had for every one good movie they had about 5 or 6 shitty ones.
Yes, that's true. And, spending way too much money on these movies too.
Yeah,
even though RoboCop was very cheap, actually, when you consider everything.
RoboCop was cheap, but then once it hit for 86 was it was 84 to 86 was or 87, I think, were their biggest years, because you had Amadeus in 84, you had freaking Platoon in 86, that was huge. Right. Platoon blew up. Terminator as well in 84, because they picked up distribution for that.
Right.
Because Terminator was independently financed, but Orion picked it up for distribution, and it's still their property to this day. But yeah, I mean, they had, damn, freaking cat walking on my thing, or a possum. I can't even tell. I'm looking. I'm sitting out in my little studio right here, and I see an animal walking across. But anyway, yeah, man, Orion's most profitable years were between 84 and 87. Then right around 1988, they started going into a slump. They just started producing bigger budget films, and they weren't hitting. They weren't returning. They weren't making any money. They did She-Devil. It was 88 or 89. That Roseanne Barr, Meryl Streep fucking movie. They thought that movie was going to make big money, right? Yeah. And it fucking flopped so hard. And Roger Ebert was the only critic in America who liked it.
Well, okay. And then after that, I knew Paul Verhoeven wasn't going to work with them again because he wanted way more money for his next movie, which was going to be Total Recall, even though he had put together some notes for a Robocop sequel, and they didn't do it. They looked at it to be polite, but they said no. They're going to bring in their own people, and they did. They brought in like Frank Miller and Waylon Green, mainly Frank Miller. I guess they brought in Waylon Green to finish up because Kirshner did not like Frank Miller's script, so I think Kirshner probably brought in Waylon Green because he was
do rewrites.
To do rewrites because he was old hat, and Waylon Green is one of those guys you hire. You know, you're just like, hey, Waylon, can you fix this? This script is fucked up. And all the ideas that Frank Miller has, Frank Miller's a sick fuck. As a writer, I'm just going to point that out right now. He is a total sick fuck. I've seen his stuff. I've seen what he does. He wrote The Dark Knight Returns, which was one of the great graphic novels. And then he was also responsible for Sin City and the sequel. And he's just a sick fuck. And there is a lot of crazy shit that happens here in Robocop 2. But the movie was twice the budget. Even though it was twice the budget of the first movie, it only made a little less than what the first movie made.
Yeah, and it didn't make. It's like they figured, oh yeah, this sequel's gonna be bigger. It's gonna be better. It's gonna make like more money. It's like, nope, it actually did less. And you spent more and it made less.
Yeah, and I think it had some great ideas in there. There were some really fantastic ideas that were very similar to the whole satirical edge of the first RoboCop movie. They again do this media propaganda thing where the media is just plain flat out lying to people about everything, and we're kind of been used to that. We're seeing that right now with the fallout of the Fauci emails and all that stuff. The media had this information; they were sitting on it for like I don't know how many months, for like 7-8 months, and then they don't say anything about it. And now they're saying it about it. You know, it all seems like there's the definite corporate political manipulation going on in conjunction with the media, and all they do is just lie to people. And that apparently is what Frank Miller's general thesis in the RoboCop world is.
But then, you know what I've never understood? I like RoboCop 2, even though I think it is inferior to the first one. I just don't understand why a lot of people trashed it, because there is something there. And you know what? I'm gonna forget that. No, they trashed it because of the fucking kid. Okay, it was because
I don't know. I don't see. The kid is so fucking ridiculous and over the top. I couldn't take it seriously. This is a kid. It's a 10-year-old drug lord. He keeps a gun in his lunchbox, and he's like a big boss with these bad guys. It's just the most ridiculous thing you ever saw. And I was like, this is a kid. And what's more, it's this kid who was in a Star Trek Next Generation episode. They played this kid named Jeremy whose mother dies, and then this alien entity creates a facsimile of his mother to keep him from getting lonely. I mean, it's like, and I'm like, oh my God, that's the kid from the Next Generation episode. There's a bunch of people in here from Next Generation episodes. You know?
I just think the first one was, even though it was a science fiction movie, it was a little more grounded in reality. Because then you look at the bad guys. They're just bad guys that want to steal shit and blow stuff up. There's no like drug element or nothing. I mean, other than the fact that Clarence Boddiger's a fucking cokehead. You can see it throughout the whole movie. But it was the 80s. Cocaine was everywhere. So we'll give that a pass.
That's what Nuke is. Nuke is like this kind of cocaine analog, you know?
Yeah, but then the violence is so tuned up to 11. Everything in that movie is so outlandish and it's over the
strange.
Fucking top.
I mean, it's like, this doesn't look like an Irving Kershner movie. This guy directed The Empire Strikes Back. He directed Never Say Never Again. We talked about that. He directed The Eyes of Laura Mars. You know, he's not that kind of director, but he just, I don't know. Maybe somebody hit him on the head really hard or something. Because
he did a lot of interesting shit in the second one. I mean, some of it worked, some of it didn't. I mean, weren't the original screenwriters from the first one involved in that? Ed Neumeier and Michael Miner? Were they involved in some capacity?
They were only involved with in conjunction with Paul Verhoeven. They got together and they wrote a sequel because I guess Orion was demanding one right away.
Oh yeah.
I guess they decided not to. I guess Orion decided not to pursue it, so they got rid of them, and they started working on another movie for Orion that they were supposed to make that was going to be directed by Oliver Stone and have Paul Newman in it, but it never got made, and I guess they went off somewhere else to work on something else. I forget what happened. I don't know how Frank Miller got involved.
That might have been because of John Davison, because he still stayed around. Because John Davison did produce, I think, all 3 movies. If not, he definitely did the first 2.
I guess, yeah, it is his kind of property.
So, I mean, I can appreciate the fact that they tried to keep in a lot of the satirical elements, you know, with the commercials and everything like that. They tried to keep the spirit of the original in there, but then everything else was just so cranked over the top. And then I think one of the jarring things is how Murphy changed between both movies, because now he's even more stoic in his voice.
Well, did you notice also that Peter Weller, he starts adopting these robotic mannerisms that he wasn't doing in the first movie?
Well, actually, what you look at in the first one, you see an evolution. You see he's a machine at first, but then after he's attacked, and then Lewis picks him up and he goes to the factory, he starts becoming more human, quote unquote. Like, he starts acting, normally. He goes, Murphy had a wife and son. What happened to them? And you could hear a little bit of a break in Peter Weller's voice when he asks that. So he's still there. But then you go to Robocop 2, and right when, at the very beginning, he goes, so do you have any idea what he goes? Yes, I am a machine. With a slight break near the end. With a slight break.
Well, does it feel like they're kind of, in the second movie, they're making fun of the first movie a little bit?
A little bit. It does.
Especially at the end when he's using a socket wrench. He's using a socket wrench on his head at the end of the movie, and he says,
well, to take off
we're
his
only
helmet.
Human, Lewis,
And then just to take off his fucking helmet, because all that's there is just like basically his face and his skeletal structure, whatever. That's even a bigger plot hole for the fucking movie,
right?
Because if you look really hard at that makeup, it's like
But I really liked it. I mean, like my wife and daughter thought it was incredibly stupid, but I really enjoyed RoboCop 2. I really did.
Oh, I did when I was a kid, dude. My dad recorded both of those off Showtime. Like, we got our first VHS in like '87, and the first RoboCop was on Showtime. He recorded that. It was RoboCop and Predator on the same tape. And then on another tape back in the 90s, he recorded RoboCop 2 off Showtime.
I never got around to seeing these movies when they first came out. I forget. I don't know why. Maybe I was someplace else, but it was just not on my radar at the time. I didn't get into the RoboCop movies until much later.
Oh no, I watched those ever since I was like a fucking kid. You got to remember, they were marketing the toys towards kids, for God's sake.
Well, it's kind of like the Lethal Weapon movies. I didn't get into the Lethal Weapon movies until like '92, I want to say, when I first saw Lethal.
Oh yeah, same here. I got into those way late.
And the Predator, well, Predator was interesting. When we got like our I guess we moved up to New York, and then we got our first video membership with someplace. I think it was RKO Home Video or whatever. We go and rent, all of these action movies, all the Lethal Weapon movies, all the Die Hard movies, all the Predator movies too. There were only 2, and then I don't know. I mean, maybe later on the RoboCop movies, but they did play them on cable all the time, like particularly on Showtime. And that's where I got them this time too. They showed them on Showtime, and I got to see 1, 2, and 3. Even though I have 1 on DVD, and also the first RoboCop movie was also a Criterion Laserdisc because it had the X-rated version, basically.
And guess who owns that?
Oh,
yours truly.
Oh, you have that? Oh, yeah.
Of course I do.
I think my friend Andrew has it too. But you can catch that. You can grab those scenes. I don't know if you can find it anymore. Can you?
Well, actually, all future pressings of RoboCop now use that unrated transfer.
With the extra scene of that guy getting even more bullets, and then the attempted rape scene where you can see that guy's dick get shot right off.
Yep.
I mean, those scenes are incredible to look at.
The only thing is why the Criterion DVD and the Criterion Laserdisc still fetch a little bit of money is because of the aspect ratio. Because it's the only version of RoboCop on home video in a 1:6:6 aspect ratio.
Right.
All other ones use a 1:8:5.
So finishing up, I guess, with RoboCop 2. As I said, it's a lot of fun, but it's kind of a weird change in the tone. I feel like it is making fun of the idea. It is having fun with the idea, and it's going completely batshit crazy because of Frank Miller. I have a feeling that Frank Miller was chiefly responsible for the kid,
Yeah. What I will say, though, Phil Tippett's stop motion still holds up.
It looks better. It looks a little more streamlined here.
A little bit better.
The first movie is a little clunkier,
A little bit, especially the Ed 209 scenes. They are a little clunky.
Ed 209.
But you got to remember, this is pre-CGI. And then even with there being CGI out there when RoboCop 2 was being made, this is Orion we're talking about. They don't got that kind of fucking money to do CGI.
They did CGI, though, for the third one, though.
Yeah, but it did not look
They
that
did a
great.
kind of like they did some morphing effects inside, in his head that they were doing that. That was that.
Yeah, because what is it? Willow had just done the morphing effects back in '88,
Right.
and that was like they were the first. ILM was the first person to do morphing effects. So I guess I can understand that, but like we're talking T2 liquid T1000 level style shit or Abyss type shit. That's the type of stuff Robocop 2 probably could have used. But again, the stop motion still holds up. The practical effects are fucking amazing in this movie,
Right.
and it's still blood and gore. Fucking bullet hits everywhere. It's just that's what I mean. At least the fun of the first movie was there. It was still a fun movie.
Yeah, but everybody hated working on this. At least the above the line people. Peter Weller. I mean, he's basically phoning it in. Although he did have that opportunity to kind of do that physical acting that he was doing inside the suit because they had a lighter suit this time. They were dealing with fiberglass this time, so he was able to move around a little bit more and try to be more, robotic in his movements. And he does a fine job. He's really good. But you can tell he's just sort of like going along with it, And from what I understand, Nancy Allen has no love for this movie. She hated Irving Kershner. She hated working with him. And she was like the only one suckered into basically doing any publicity because everybody distanced themselves from this movie right after they finished it. So
this
Peter
is like
Weller
another
did not go on any publicity junkets, and Nancy Allen had to do it.
This is like another Heaven's Gate type situation to where fucking everyone nobody was available to do press tours.
Everybody
It's
disowned it.
The bad press just got out there and it affected the movie's premiere and everything that.
I can't even imagine the bad press part. What I can imagine is Orion spent way too much money on this movie.
Yeah,
I mean, $30 million is money Orion didn't have. This might as well have been their Heaven's Gate, but it did get out there. It did play in the theater. It did get a big release, and it made some money. But I guess it didn't make enough money. It's interesting. It's really kind of shocking when you consider they actually greenlit RoboCop 3.
Yeah, but then that's where we segue into what happened after that. Then Orion started having the bankruptcy. Then the bankruptcy happened because you and I both know that movie was shot and completed in 1991, and it didn't see the light of day until 1993.